Hey, what's going on guys, it's Bugas here, and with the conclusion of my review of the Walking with trilogy with the Walking with Monsters review I did 2 weeks ago, today I'm going to start my review of the specials, starting with Chased by Dinosaurs. By the way, I don't actually know what's the umbrella term for all of them, so for now I'm just gonna call them the specials. Oh, and spoilers, forgot to mention that in the last video. Okay, now we can move on to the overview. Chased by Dinosaurs is a 2-episode miniseries, I guess you could call it, that introduces a different formula for documentaries into the Walking With series. Whereas previous installments used the standard formula of showing animals going about their daily lives, while narration is placed on top of it, Chased by Dinosaurs uses another formula, where a host, usually a zoologist for nature documentaries, explores the wilderness while talking to the camera and relaying what they find or some science facts. The host in this case is Nigel Marven, and as per usual, I'll give my opinions on it in the conclusion segment. Chased by Dinosaurs also uses the Walking with Dinosaurs and Walking with Beasts formula, where each episode focuses on a different time period. In addition to this, there's also a particular goal or site Nigel wants to see, so it doesn't appear he's just aimlessly walking around. With that out of the way, let's move on to the episodes. In the giant claw, Nigel's goal is to find a Therizinosaurus, the owner of a giant claw. Haha, get it? Anyways, we then get to see a Saurolophus flatten Nigel's tent, then subsequently covers Nigel in snot. We then get to see some comic relief as Nigel goes through a Protoceratops nest using a red flag to distract them, as we also see glimpses of the crew being attacked by the Protoceratops. Nigel then enters the lush forest where a pack of velociraptors hunt a Protoceratops, using its sickle claw to slash at it. Later at night, a bunch of Mononychus appear and eat a scorpion Nigel had previously caught, before catching one himself. I particularly love how Nigel treats the Mononychus, which, by the way, the animatronic looks really good, and Nigel covers the animal's head using a sack to calm him down, which is the same technique used on horses as he examines those primitive-looking feathers. Nigel then discovers a Therizinosaurus nest alongside herbivore dung before running into a Tarbosaurus. He then heads to a watering hole where he discovers the skeletal arms of a Therizinosaurus, but then is chased back into the forest by velociraptors, and he proceeds to use a bicycle horn to scare them off. Back in the watering hole, a Tarbosaurus appears, alongside the Therizinosaurus, and after a brief interaction, the Tarbosaurus backs away, allowing Nigel to see the Therizinosaurus and piece all the clues together as he sees it eating leaves, and he also touches one at the end. I like how there's a sense of engagement and mystery as Nigel goes on his adventure, and especially if you didn't know what a Therizinosaurus looked like. You can examine the clues yourselves along with Nigel to try and figure out what this creature really is and what it looks like. I also like how in the beginning Nigel treats the Therizinosaurus as a carnivore. I mean, when you see these giant claws, that's probably your first assumption. And he searches for areas that giant carnivores might hunt. But then he discovers the clues and eventually sees the real thing. He realizes that's actually a herbivore. And those giant claws have a totally different purpose than what he initially assumed. Well, for the most part at least. Land of Giants. Huh, wonder where I've heard that one before. Anyways, Nigel's goals this time around is to witness a hunt between Argentinosaurus and Giganotosaurus. At the beginning, we see a teaser of what will come with a giant skeleton of an Argentinosaurus alongside a juvenile we meet on the lake. Then a Sarcosuchus appears and Nigel tries to lure it onto land, and he gets an inside view of its mouth, and also nearly gets eaten in the process. Nigel then encounters some iguanodons feeding, and on a cliffside, a colony of pteranodons. At night, the campsite is destroyed by a large predator, leaving its tooth behind as proof. And the next morning, Nigel finds an injured iguanodon, and after trekking further, finds a Giganotosaurus feeding on a dead one. Nigel then decides on a different method of finding the Argentinosaurus herd by flying on an airplane to get a bird's eye view. Encountering more pteranodons, and an Ornithocheirus makes an appearance, before eventually spotting the herd, and he decides to follow them on the ground using his jeep. And while on the ground, he decides to do some dinosaur science by weighing the Argentinosaurus. Nigel then has a close encounter with the Giganotosaurus that chases him, and then he finally witnesses the hunt. It lasts several hours as the Gigas separate a youngster and continuously bite at it to wear it down in a continuous assault. That at the end is somewhat disheartening as the Argentinosaurus youngster cries out in pain. So instead of ending on that somewhat depressing note, we instead end right back where we started, on the lake, as the story comes full circle as the Argentinosaurus lay their eggs. And just to add some slight comedy at the end, Nigel and the crew supposedly get eaten by the Sarcosuchus. I'm glad that this episode had a different format than the other. Whereas the giant claw was more of a mystery to solve, this one was more like awaiting a big event. And I'm happy that they did something different to keep it fresh and interesting. Other than that, I don't really have much else to say. It's just fun to watch. Well, aside from the part where it gets a bit depressing in the end. But I thoroughly enjoyed the episode as a whole. Nigel's charisma carries the series, and I do think he is the best person for something like this. He acts appropriately according to the scene, having a mostly fun personality, but can be serious if the scene calls for it. Which is really impressive considering that for most of it, he's not really interacting with anything at all. And especially with the more lighthearted scenes, you can really tell how much fun he's having. And since he's having fun with every discovery he makes, the viewers also have fun watching him interact with the environment. The lighthearted tone also helps in this, because I feel like if it took itself too seriously, then it potentially could have been a bit boring. But since it doesn't take itself too seriously most of the time, you ease into it more and just have more fun watching it, especially in some of the more comical scenes. And I will admit, at some points I did have quite a large grin on my face. The script is also really good. It perfectly balances the things happening on screen while also conveying more sciencey stuff. And Nigel delivers the science facts so subtly that sometimes you don't even notice how much you're learning. On a more visual front, the CGI is also improved. You can see how the dinosaur's skin and muscles jiggle when they move, and the skin textures also appear to be more detailed to the point where you can almost distinguish each individual scale. And the movement also appears to be a lot smoother. If I absolutely had to criticize something, I was a bit disappointed there were only 2 episodes, because they could have easily made this into another 6 episode series. But alas, I'm still happy with what we got, and I guess it does teach us to not long over what we didn't get, but rather cherish what we did get. So I guess that's another life lesson we can learn from the Walking With series. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. The next review is going to be Chased by Sea Monsters. And actually, while we're on the subject, recently I've been considering doing more of these reviews. I mean, because I have a really fun time making it. I mean, yeah, they're a lot of work, but it's fun work. And, you know, if you all guys also want me to do these more often, I'll definitely consider doing it. Like, if I don't have any plans to make a video on a certain day, then I'll try and make a review. But yeah, I mean, we all know I'm highly inconsistent when it comes to these videos. Um, anyways, God, you know, I have the script for this, but like, I even mess up when I'm reading the script. Anyways, I hope I won't have to deal with any more copyright issues, like the last one, but you'll probably know if I had to deal with any, depending on when this video gets uploaded. Anyways, I've dragged this outro for long enough. And so I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye.